The Triple Trio with Hutchi, Richo and RS Dye. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio. Our look forward to the great racing coming up at Sha Tin on Sunday, but also a reflection on the week that was, and I do it with the two best in the absolute business. Glenn Hutchison, the best form analyst in Hutchi's Honkers, and of course the Hall of Fame jockey in Raymond Shane Dye. Hutchbuster, superb to see you.
And you too as well, Rich. I know it's been a big week. It's been a good week as well. Made a little bit of profit over the past week, and we've seen some really nice horses, and we're going to see more this weekend as well. We take a look at, well, this was Shane's best, of course, wasn't it? RS Dye.
Well done, Shane. Circuit Stella was superb. Good ride from Zach.
He was always going to lead, I felt, and he'd been unlucky. He was too good. It wasn't hard to find him. Anyone could have found him.
And Jamie Richards just keeps this momentum going with laser victory. Zach was a positive out of the gates. Race has gone pretty well. It's rated nicely. He's going to be a horse that will be winning more races, I think, for Jamie as well. And during the week, we had a nice result with Smiling Time, who paid around that $8.80 mark on a night where the best didn't feature, but we snuck out a profit anyway.
That's all you need to do. You got a profit, and that was outstanding considering that your two best didn't fall, but the others in and around did their support role, which is what we do when Shane's around. Did you make a profit last week, RS?
Oh, geez, I forgot. Wednesday night, I backed the first winner, which was about 10s into 5, so I got in front and I gave most of it back, I think, during the night, but I didn't lose. Last weekend's too far away. I can't even remember. I'll tell you what, though, I won on the Super Bowl, if anything, which was very good. Kansas winning, so that was good.
Oh, that is brilliant, mate. If you win, we win. That's the way we look at it. We're going to burst out of the gates in a moment. Lots to talk about, of course, a sweat in defeat file. Looking forward to finding future winners that way. Genius or Slaughter from the best in the business in Shane Dye. Our very special guest is a gun jockey, and we're looking at not only her time in Hong Kong, but also her rides this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to Jamie Kah adding some much-needed star power, and, of course, all the winners and a lot more. But let's burst out of the gate. And when we burst out of the gates, Hutch, we start with you. Beauty Eternal. Wow.
Yeah.
What a win.
Incredible performance, and has also elevated himself as a leading chance, of course, for the Derby. It hasn't been a smooth ride in terms of the races they wanted to enter after that incident where he obviously dislodged Zach prior to going to the start. John Sizes had to effectively alter his game plan, but what a performance. Lovely ride from Zach here. This was an opportunity for them to get a little sit-in behind a good pace, and he continues his winning way. He is probably the most exciting horse going around in Hong Kong, irrespective of the fact that he's going to be a leading Derby chance, Shane. But I know you really love this horse and love what he has to offer, and it's there everyone to see, really, isn't it?
It's easy to find him. He's the real deal. He's a Group 1 horse. I wouldn't back Golden 60 or California Spangle to beat him over 1,400 or a mile. I think he's just going to go to Group 1. He wins the Derby if he stays. There's nothing else in the same class as him in the 4-year-olds. He's just too good. But will he stay, Clint? That's the query.
It is a little query, but I think for me, sort of that sort of more of that miler type.
Yeah.
And we'll have a look at a Group 1 goldmine thing where it probably suggests that he is like a sprinter miler, but they're pretty solid, that 1,600-1,800 metre mark, as we can see.
So you see Star Spangled Banner as sire and you think, oh no, well, he was a great sprinter, but he has produced a Cox Plate winner in State of Rest.
Exactly. So there is enough there on that page with all the algorithms that Group 1 goldmine put together that tell me that he'll be effective enough a mile, 1,800. And the class factor, we see it everywhere in the world, don't we, Shane? Even in Australia, some horses, just against their own generation, if they're better than them, they'll get them. And he's strong enough over the mile that he'll take a lot of beating over the Derby distance in Hong Kong of 2,000.
That's very true, Clint. We've seen many milers win derbies in Hong Kong. You don't have to be a dead set stayer because it's their own group and a lot of them can't stay. The distance they're going there for the prestige and the owners love the race. It's the biggest race. If he stays, Clint, he'll win. It's as simple as that.
As we look back, and I take your point, Shane, you were riding in an era where Mahogany was an unbelievable sprinter. Yet in his 3-year-old year, is able to win over 25 and 2,400 metres in a VRC and an ATC derby.
Yeah, and he didn't just win. He won by 5 or 6 lengths. He was very impressive. Then they brought him back and trained him as a sprinter, and he was sensational and won many Group 1s. But then they also prepared him for a Cox Plate first up over 2,000 metres. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I beat him on octagonal, and it was a very, very strong Cox Plate. So he could do anything, that horse, but he was definitely an unbelievable sprinter.
Yeah, that's right.
We even see over the last spring as well with She's Extreme. I'm not sure 2,500 or a mile and a half was her go, but she was just better than them. It seems to happen quite often, but even Golden 60 was a Hong Kong Derby winner, and I think his best trip's the mile. I think that's pretty obvious.
It's been proven, hasn't it?
Yes, so it will be very similar, I think, with Beauty Eternals right in the game, but, he won't be lining up against Voyage Bubble in the majority of them in the Classic Cup, which is next weekend. He's going to, I think, run in a mile race, but I'm glad that he potentially be running on the same day, because I like to line them up in terms of how their performances sort of rate. So hopefully we do see him next weekend on Classic Cup Day in another race.
Yeah, bring it on. Hey, Shane, I sound like a broken record. I'm talking again about Hugh Bowman, who had another great week. He is riding superbly at the moment.
He's flying. He's just putting them in the right spots, giving them the right rides. And sometimes he gets the 1,000 metres wrong at Happy Valley. I know he rode a winner on Wednesday night, the first, but Firebolt later on in the race 2 or 3 just was a touch too far back on him. He should have been more positive out of the gates, but that's the way he rides. But this horse here, what a ride. He drew gate 10, he was 3 deep, and he ended up on the fence at one stage, back and then come out on the turn and quicken. He's flying. He's riding the best in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, he really is. I think from his last 50, he's 9 and Zach's 8 rides, that is.
Right.
So he's matching motors with Zach at the moment, and I think, he's really in a purple patch of form, and he's well acquainted with Hong Kong anyway, and we've been singing his praises, and we don't probably need to anymore. He's riding as well as anybody, and if you've got him on a horse that you fancy, you're pretty happy to see H. Bowman there for sure.
He's moved to 4th in the premiership. He sits on 26 wins, so he's only 4 behind Silvestre de Souza, and then they're another 14 behind Vincent Ho, and then, of course, a big tearaway leader, Shane and Zach.
Clint, you said he's in a purple patch. I disagree. He's ridden like that from day one. From the first time I saw him ride in Hong Kong, I couldn't believe it. He's better than what I thought he was, So maybe this is how he always is going to be in Hong Kong. It's just not a purple patch. But right at this moment, from the time he's got there, he hasn't done much wrong.
It's a fair call. It's a fair call. He's ridden well as soon as he's got there. But, I think having that experience as well, Shane, in Hong Kong, we think back to the times where he rode Werther for John Moore, and I think having those trips, even though they were sort of hit and run missions, and he's never had a really extended stint there, it still bodes well and gives him that foundation that he's pretty comfortable in that environment.
Well, the best thing is he's about to start getting very good rides, because he wasn't. He was getting nice rides. Once he starts getting very, very good rides, all of a sudden it becomes Yui and Zach split between them, like it was Joe and Zach. And those two are going to split all the good rides coming up very soon. I can see it happening.
Asian Racing Conference been in Melbourne this week. Hutch, have you come across some of the key aspects that are being covered? We're talking about trying to engage the new audience, which is something that I know has been discussed many, many times. That's the reality of constantly searching a way of engaging a new audience in racing.
Yeah, look, it's great that I think after these COVID times that everyone's been able to get back together, and it would seem that the main theme of a lot of what has been discussed, well, there's a lot being discussed, but probably harmonisation. And we spoke to Kim Kelly last week when you were away, Richo, and his role is, of course, on the stewarding side of it, is around harmonisation as well, but it's more around the whole sport.
Yeah,
I think having
globalisation,
and common goals, which I think, which is really good, and completely agree with. I mean, we talk about racing. We need to work together. We need to have a sport that we all can grow and stick together. I think on a global level, rather than, in Australia, sometimes it's probably a little bit insular, and there's also, we've got to have these common goals, I think, to get ahead, basically. And
I'd love to know what was going through the minds of a lot of the delegates from the Asian Racing Conference that have arrived in Australia and then seen the front page of papers with an infighting between administrators between New South Wales and Victoria, not the front page being celebrating the champions of our sport, just going on about administrators fighting and not going to meetings.
Well, the problem as well is that as a sport, the wagering dollar is up for grabs, and Hong Kong doesn't really have much competition, but the rest of the world, we are well aware of other sports, and they are taking the dollar as well. So, we've got to hang on to what we've got and work together in order to get it.
Richo, the biggest person in sport and in racing in Australia at present is probably two, Jamie Kah and James McDonald. No one knows James McDonald. He's never in the paper. He's never on the front page or anything. The racing officials here have got no idea how to promote racing and get the stars out there. He should be on front pages on the carnival all the time. He's just not. No one knows him outside of racing. And I don't understand that when you've got such a likeable, well-mannered, good-looking young kid who's a superstar and the general public does not know who he is. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, it's a great point. And not only that, he is willing. He understands his obligation, like Jamie Kah does. They understand their obligation to promote the sport. So they're up for it. So think outside the square. Find a way to get those two athletes in particular at the front of people's mind. Shane, at the Asian Racing Conference, I would ask you a question with great trepidation. If you were racing minister or you're in control of racing for a day, what's on the top of your list of things to do?
Combining the totes in Australia. If I'm in Australia, you cannot get on if you're a professional punter in Australia, right? That's the trouble. And the totes aren't big enough. No corporate will let a winning account get on. So the professionals who are winners cannot get enough money on. But if the tote pool is big enough, well, then you're going to bet on that tote pool like you do in Hong Kong, and it's going to create more turnover. So they have to get their heads together in Australia and make one pool, but they won't because they're all too what's the word, Richo?
Self-interest.
Self-obsessed.
Self-interest of every state instead of the benefit of racing. The benefit of racing in Australia is for one tote and one tote only, and I can't believe they don't get that, and I don't know why.
It's a point that you've made perfectly, and it's a point that'll lead us into a discussion a little later on, in that forget just a tote pool for Australia. We're talking a world pool, and there will be a race meeting this Saturday at Flemington with a world pool. More on that in a moment. Find some future winners, Sweet in defeat.
They're off, and Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar fast buck, smart leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chan.
We find future winners courtesy of our Sweet and Defeat file. Hutchbuster, who jumps in?
Got 2 from the last week, and I think both of these horses are well worth following. One of them is a Smiling Collector, who's simply just ready to win a race. He's had a little bit go against him because he doesn't really have a lot of gate speed or tactical speed, I should say, so he's been settling back. And a real eye-catching run from a horse by the name of Inspiring City, who's on the brink of a drop in grade. But this is Smiling Collector, and the last 2 efforts actually have been enormous. He's just needing to get into a race where he can either settle a little bit closer or get a race that's run to suit. This was eventually won by the leader, who probably got a nicely rated ride, or did get a nicely rated ride. 4th best final 200 at the meeting this guy ran, Smiling Collector. And for a horse of this class, that was an excellent performance. So I think that he's ready. But this is one that I think you might want to note down, Shane. They drew out wide Inspiring City. He was on a mark of 41 for this run. I'm not sure. I haven't checked with the Hong Kong handicap if they've dropped him again off the back of this. But you can see from the wide gate, they were happy to go back. He does make some nice late headway, and he finishes right on the heels of them. It was an eye catcher. And now I think the norm would be he'll be able to drop in grade. And if he does get that drop in class, I would say he'll be winning in Class 5 because he's got a little bit more upside than most.
Yeah, he ran well the start before on the dirt. He got back last and run on. He has, I think if I remember correctly, a couple of his 2-year-old runs early on as a Griffin were all right, Clint.
They were.
And he'll drop to Class 5 now. The other horse, Smiling Collector, he's a winner waiting to happen. But the problem with him, Clint, is he hangs bad and can run off. And 2 starts ago, he went to go off again, and he was barred at one stage. So you actually can't dig that horse early to put him into the race, because if you do, he's going to over-race and hang. So he's actually not an easy ride, but he's racing well and he's getting better with every start. And you're correct. He'll be winning soon. His last 2 runs have been very, very good.
Okay, so into the file they go. Into the Sweet in Defeat file go Smiling Collector and Inspiring City. Shane's analysed all the rides. Genius or Slaughter next.
They sweep for home now. Beander Cross has come very wide. Beander Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Genius or Slaughter from the Hall of Fame jockey. Shane, who caught your eye? Let's start positively. Who was a good ride
this
this week?
A really good ride. Now, this is what you do when you miss the start. Look at gate 11. Jockeys don't miss starts. Horses do. You watch this horse jump out. Yui's on it. He could not do a thing about it. Watch him. See how he bounds? That's not a jockey's fault. That's the horse. He comes straight back to last. He doesn't dig the horse. If he digs it, it pulls too hard and gets beat. As it was, it pulled, and he was so lucky because he just got the best run on the fence, but he pulled, he got up on the fence, and then he come out at about the 200, I think it was. Here it is here. He's come out and he's gone, boom, perfect ride. I keep telling the boys, when you miss the start, don't dig them and don't go wide. Just go back to last, leave them there and just hope they can get home. And this is a classic example of how you ride a horse when you miss the start. This is another ride here. This was a good ride because he was very patient. This is owner's praise, Derek Leung. Watch him here. He's just sitting on him, but he's not getting him off stride or unbalanced. As I've been saying, he's waiting and then he comes out and he gets him into rhythm. And that horse, because he's in rhythm, can hit the line the last 200 metres. So well done, Derek. You did the right thing there, and he wasn't looking for runs or pulling him around quickly and getting him off balance. He let the race unfold. This last race is Wonder Years. This was a very, very good ride, and you may not look it, but it was. This horse doesn't go. Now, I always say save ground. This is one horse you cannot save ground on. He's back last. You've got to circle them, and you've got to go early. As soon as he got into the back, this horse this day, he's back 3 lengths last. He doesn't travel. He wants 4,000 metres. Teetan just pulled him to the outside, and that's the best place for him to be. He cannot go in amongst horses, and you've got to get him going early, which he did, because he just keeps going. It doesn't matter how wide you are. Look at him here, riding my heart, and he just goes the one pace. 4,000 metres would suit him perfectly, and it probably looked terrible being wide, but no. He can't get interrupted in a race, that horse. If he does, he can't win. So that's the right thing to do. Very good ride. And I say that is a ride where you know the horse. And he knew that horse. And he just kept going the whole way, Clint.
Oh, it was I couldn't agree more.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, and we did put on H live. We have Hutchi's Honkers live in the night, and we said Shane that he'd be well suited to the Jericho in Victoria. That's over 4,500 metres at Warrnambool.
Yeah.
But no, I thought what you said is critical with Harris Teetan and this horse. He knew the horse. He knew what he had to do. That's how you've got to ride him if you want to get a result. He's very dour. He's just a genuine stayer, and he's often making up late headway, but he was obviously down in class, and I thought it was still a brave performance, but it was a very good ride from Karras.
Karras would be exhausted, Shane, by the end of that ride.
Oh, he really would. No risk. It was a hard ride. But that's knowing your horse and its limitations and what it has to do in a race to win a race, and that's very important, and that's a classic example. It looked an ugly ride because he's wide, circling them. It's the only way to ride that horse. You cannot go amongst a horse, so well done, Karras. Great ride. And if he hadn't have done it, it couldn't have won and wouldn't have won.
It's all about knowing the animal underneath you and doing your form, which is what Shane constantly talks about. What about a Slaughter? Did anyone get it wrong this week?
No, couldn't really find. Well, I don't look for them. They just pop up race day in my head, and nothing popped up race day.
He's keeping the powder dry.
Is he getting soft?
No, he's not getting soft. But he's been.
I'm not getting soft for a
Forget
It does seem like he's in a good mood.
Forget that he's with us. Is he getting soft? Is it just me? Are you noticing being a little softer now?
I would be surprised if there were sort of 3 Slaughters and maybe 1 good ride.
Is he in love that we don't know about? Look at him. He's got a big glow on his...
Yeah.
I've had a good Richo.
It's good to be the king. If only I looked as fresh as you. Talking about fresh, other member of our team, we absolutely love her, and she's doing some great stuff for us with her inside running is Nicole Purton. And this week, she catches up with Group 1 winning jockey, who's the partner of Jamie Richards and working behind the scenes to build his stable in Danielle Johnson.
Danielle Johnson, New Zealand's champion jockey, has moved to Hong Kong to support her fiancé, Jamie Richards, who's the newest Hong Kong Jockey Club trainer.
And we've got Avon Taj putting them to the sword the last little bit.
And in the hands of Danielle Johnson, too illicit, too strong.
Danielle, how is life different in Hong Kong to your life in New Zealand?
Well, it's certainly slowed down a lot. Back in New Zealand, I was riding probably 5-6 times a week. Coming to Hong Kong, I'm certainly having a few more sleep-ins, despite what Jamie thinks when he tries to wake me up every morning. It's in the slow lane at the moment, that's for sure.
And how did you get into racing in the first place?
My dad was a jockey. My mum trains horses, so I think it was bred into me pretty much like most, I think, horsey backgrounds, that it's something that you just follow throughout your family.
Did you ever ride for your mum?
Yes, I did. A couple of bad ones too.
As in bad horses or bad rides?
Bad rides, and I'm still in the will.
Tri-Fan raced up, got the lead and will get the win in the last. Danielle Johnson for her mum, Annabelle Johnson. And the Johnson ladies do the business in the last here.
When you were riding, did you do much riding for Jamie?
I did. So Jamie trained for Teetan, who I rode from them right from when I first started my apprenticeship, and then Jamie took over at Teetan and rode a bit more, and again and made a few evenings testing, a few quiet nights on the way home from the races.
How did you manage that if it was, say, obviously not the outcome you wanted in the race? How would you handle your professional life and your relationship?
I think I'm a pretty easygoing person. Some people would say different, but and we always said that you leave work on the race course and you know, home is home. Yeah. You can't take it home, or otherwise our relationship was never going to work.
Avon Taj, she's all out, but she's hanging in. She's got her 9th Group 1, and she's done it, Avon Taj. Avon Taj for Jamie Richards, and Danielle Johnson gets another Group 1 on this wonderful race mare.
So can you describe the difference between, like you said, you got that winning feeling when you were riding winners, but now you're experiencing them with Jamie as a team. What's the difference?
I mean, we're on the world stage now, so it's a big difference. Every race in Hong Kong is like a Group 1 in New Zealand, so the pressure more so on Jamie. It's immense, it's big, and we're just so fortunate to be here and experiencing it all together.
So what has been your best moment in Hong Kong so far then?
Our first winner. There's nothing like your first winner to get the monkey off your back. Handsome Rebel, which was a horse that Jamie trained in New Zealand, so it made it really special.
Here's the first win for Jamie Richards. Kiwis can't fly, but I tell you what, this one will in Hong Kong. It's first all round here, Jamie Richards and Victor Wong for the season.
Unfortunately, just over a year ago, I fell off and broke my leg in 2 places. I had an operation, all mended, obviously back on a horse now, so I'm like one of the fortunate ones. I was actually never going to come to Hong Kong as soon as I did. I was going to stay right out the season, because obviously I didn't want to end my career on a broken leg. I would have liked to have tried to win another premiership, but I don't know, maybe things happen for a reason.
And do you think that you will ride as a professional jockey again?
I mean, I won't say never, but at this stage, the direction that my life is in, I'm here to support Jamie. I'm waiting on my visa to come through so I can ride some track work. So, you know, you'll still see me out on the racetrack, but it'll just be in a different form.
I know leisure riding like me is not really your thing, but what do you think of Bees River?
I think it's an amazing concept. Obviously not all racehorses can be fast, so they can retire here, they can live a good life. I think the Hong Kong Jockey Club have done a fantastic thing having Bees River.
What does success look like for you and Jamie?
Obviously a lot of winners, and I want, and I think Jamie will be the champion trainer of Hong Kong. Like, I want people to talk about Jamie in years to come, that he was something special in Hong Kong, and I really do believe he will be.
Nicole Purton at her absolute best there with Danielle Johnson, DJ, or Baby D, as she was affectionately known, and it'd be interesting to find out if she does ride into the future, but at the moment, playing such an important role in the development of Jamie Richards' stable. From one star female rider to another, our star guest is a beauty, the one and only Jamie Kah. Well, we had some star power, and we do it with a wonderful touch. A young lady who was taking all before her in Australia in recent years and just gave Hong Kong racing a little touch of her magic. A little bit of the star dust was sprinkled on a few horses. Her name is Jamie Kah. She joins the Triple Trio. Jamie, thanks for doing that. Firstly, welcome, and how do you enjoy riding in Hong Kong?
Thank you, Richo. Thanks for having me. It's a different feeling up there. It was a really special day because I think when you go and ride in another country, you're always trying to just prove yourself, and it was a massive relief to get that first winner on the board, and then obviously Voyage Bubble just was the icing on the cake, and it was really special because they do really like to celebrate over there. Obviously, the owners, and you feel like a bit of a celebrity over there. It's pretty exciting.
Jamie, congratulations on the win. What sort of feeling did the horse give you? I mean, ultimately he's beaten all of his rivals pretty well over the mile. Firstly, how did he feel, and do you think the 1800 that you're going back for, the Classic Cup, will be in his wheelhouse?
Yeah, well, obviously thank you for helping me out with a bit of the form over there. I'm very new when it comes to Hong Kong form, and I was probably a little bit worried about the mile, if it was going to be a bit too far, if it was a solidly run mile. But he really surprised me. He settled. He was lovely. He could have taken a sit, but he was just as strong at the end of the mile. So I'm not worried at all about him stepping up in distance. He's just had that little tendency to lay in, which is the only issue. But if we can iron out that, he's going to be a super horse.
Jamie, there's not a lot of difference between 1600 and 1800 at Sha Tin because it's down the back and it's a straight run. So he'll get away with the 18. What about around a bend of 2000? It's a big difference going 1800 to 2000 at Sha Tin. Do you think he'll run the 2000?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the 18 at all. I'm just a little bit worried about the 2000. We'll know a lot more Sunday week with him, but I wouldn't be in a rush to be stepping into 2000.
Jamie, I don't know if you watch the show. I'm sure you do. You record it every week. You tune in, the Triple Trio. You would know that Hutchi and I are merely the little bit of garnish on the side of the plate, because the number one thing that we get is Shane Dye, the Hall of Fame jockey, analysing the various rides of our gun jockeys. So scary times for you, Jamie. Sit back. Shane, what do you make of Jamie Kah, the jockey? Give us some advice. What do you think? Over to you.
Funny thing was, the RaceNet or News Limited got me to write an article. I stopped writing them. I couldn't be bothered, but I wrote one for a couple of months every week, and I actually wrote about Jamie, and it was taken so wrong. I couldn't read the comments. There was 700 comments bagging me, and what I said, she's the best rider I've seen since I left in 2000. That's Australian. James McDonald's New Zealand, and that's not including Huey Bowman, because he was before 2000. She's the best rider Australia's produced since in the year 2000. Horses run for her. She's very relaxed in a race. She's made a couple of mistakes, which I pointed out in big races, but in time she'll learn how to ride big races. She tries to ride in big races percentages and not gamble. And you've seen what happened 2 weeks ago with Golden 60 when he gambled and didn't win a ride to percentages. He won the race. But look, I could never knock Jamie. I think she's a great rider. And it showed in Hong Kong. She got the horses out of the gates very fast. That's one of her assets. And that's really going to suit Hong Kong racing. And she would be a big asset, one, because she's a great jockey, but two, it's different. She's a female if she goes to Hong Kong and rides. Now, it all depends what she wants. If she wants money, she's going to Hong Kong. She's not staying in Australia. But if she wants a bit of limelight, a bit of fun, a different lifestyle, she stays in Australia. It's as simple as that. It's not hard to work that out.
Praise is rare. But we love it, Shane. Yeah. Jamie, your thoughts? Are you going to stay in Australia or do you want to go and make money?
I love Australia. I love the lifestyle here. It's very, very tempting, obviously, to go over there, and I think I will, but just not yet. I don't think I'm ready for it yet. I don't know. There's so much here I want to do, so many races here I want to win. I still want to prove myself here, but yeah, it's tempting. It's very tempting.
You're only young, and you don't have to go yet. But one day you should, because it's the place to ride. Trust me, I've been at the top in both Australia and Hong Kong, and the money does not compare in Australia to Hong Kong.
But the other thing, I suppose, Jamie, that you can do is you can probably have the best of both worlds at this point of your career. I mean, you can achieve what you want to in Australia, and I mean, the success that you had in the Classic Cup might pave the way for you to probably go back to Hong Kong, as many other leading jockeys have, Ryan Moore and Hugh Bowman, and ride in their features. So you might be able to enjoy both.
Yeah, that's ideally the best of both worlds, isn't it? That would be, it's only a 1 a.m. flight over and a 12:30 flight back. You only miss a couple of days here. It's worth it when you can get the results, that's for sure.
And are you the sort of person that can just sleep anywhere? Because some people would be thinking, hang on, you ride on a Saturday, you jump on a plane that night, and then you basically have to sleep on the plane. You wake up the next day in Hong Kong and you've got to be ready to perform.
Yeah, I think going there was easy. I slept the whole way and I slept the whole way back. But I went to Geelong trials on the Tuesday here, and I got home at lunchtime and just turned my phone off because I was in some sort of mood. I think I gave someone a spray over email, and I was very cranky. I hadn't slept in a bed for 3 days. So I'm the one, I can sleep anywhere, but yeah, that definitely knocked me around a bit, that trip.
Oh, we don't want a cranky Jamie Kah. We like the nice Jamie Kah. Global racing this weekend. It's going to be fascinating, Jamie. You're riding at Flemington in the Lightning Stakes. You're riding Coolangatta. It's part of the World Pool, the first time ever in Australia that all countries around the world can bet into this huge pool of money, which will be absolutely fantastic. And there's the race card for all of our audience, especially our Hong Kong audience, to have a look at. Tell us about your chances in the Lightning Stakes with the flying filly that is Coolangatta.
Yeah, she's a great filly. I've said this recently, I didn't really expect her to take that next step after last prep. I thought she'd hit her peak, which, was still a pretty amazing prep she had. But I reckon she stepped up. She's grown, she's improved. Her trials have been fantastic this time in. Obviously, she's against the superstar Nature Strip, but I think she'll run a super race. I reckon this prep she's grown and matured, and she's furnished into a nice horse.
One thing, tomorrow she's up the straight. The one time she went up the straight was at Kilmore and she didn't finish the race off. Do you think she's okay up the straight, or is she better around the bend?
I think she's better around the bend, 100%, but I don't think the Coolmore can be a good representation. I don't think she was, I think she was just off in her prep. That was, towards the end of it. I still prefer around a bend, obviously, but I don't think she'll run like she did in the Coolmore. That's what I'm trying to say.
Horse that ran well, that runs at the meeting, Jamie, that you rode last year as well, or won last year, was Anavisto. You're talking about horses that have worked well leading, and Anavisto looks a very good chance there for you at the meeting.
Yeah, she's trialling super, working super. It was a tough choice in that race to make, but I think she's the the classy horse. Obviously, I've been on that Qatar Attacky and it's been flying, but I think this horse, she's going to really hit her peaks this prep.
Look at that book of rides. So Wishlaw Lash, a huge chance. She's going great guns. You think about Nunthorpe and Princess Darlow. And Avista's the favourite. Daytona can fight back, or Daytona Bay in race 8, number 14. But Jamie, let's get down to the big one.
Down to the bottom.
Race 9, horse number 11, Hello Broadcast, owned by Clint Hutchison and Maddie Hill. You must deliver.
I'm nervous. That's the only race I'm nervous about all day.
Well, Jamie's comments were positive after the last run, and I think Enver's very happy with the way the horse is working. So I'm sure he'll get his opportunity. But he's going to be in the mix, I think. But I thought he might be more of a one to hit the frame, but he looks over the odds to me.
Yeah, okay, so good luck with Hello Broadcast. Jamie, you've got a smile on your face constantly at the moment. You look in a really good space emotionally.
I'm talking to you, Richo, that's why.
Oh, thank you. You're a champion. But also,
Richo's going red.
Oh, shucks. Not only emotionally, but physically. Tell us about how you are physically at the moment. You look really fit, really strong, really healthy, and obviously getting a nice balance between work and life.
Yeah, I am. I'm busy. I've got a few pre-trainers here now, and I've been sort of working all day at the farm and sort of working on the farm. It's been keeping me really light. I'm walking around 51 kilos, which is amazing. I've never been that light in my life. So that's really helping. I don't have to waste and sweat and lose weight anymore for the races. I think that was something that really used to affect me. So that's really, changed my life a bit at the moment, not having to waste. And, I'm just in a happy place, riding a few winners and, can't complain.
A bit more than a few, Jamie.
just a few here and there. Pick it away.
Hey, RS Dye, is there one question that you've always wondered about Jamie as a jockey?
No, I haven't. I've just always watched her. Horses have always run for her.
And why is that?
Why is that? It's because of your hands and the way you sit in the saddle. I've seen two jockeys when they were kids' horses run for. One was Matthew Chadwick, and I said a couple of weeks ago, he was better upper straight than a Douglas White, a Joe Moreira, anyone, Shane Dye, anyone. If you put him up the straight, same horse, same barrier, same track, he would beat me and Douglas and Joe every time. Horses just run for him when he was a kid. They don't run for him now like they did as a kid. There was another one you won't know called Aaron Kennedy. They run for him. He committed suicide, unfortunately. And they run for you. Horses run better for girls than they do for guys, Richo. There's no doubt about that. But it's a gift, and you don't even know what you do on them, but they just do. And you're good out of the gates, we know that, and you get them into rhythm, and you don't seem to check them in races, which is good. And they don't pull. Not many horses pull for you.
Oh, I'm starting to blush.
You're going to go to the races on Saturday feeling pretty good about yourself with all this positive reinforcement.
I was cringing at the start. I was waiting for the butts. But
there's always a but. Don't worry about that. There's always a but. You've got to take the good and the bad with me because I watch thousands of races every day. I don't stop. 16 hours a day I keep watching replays just about. So I'm watching everything. And because I've been there, done it, I pick up things other people don't pick up a lot of the time. And I just love it. It's my life. I love racing. I want jockeys to be better, not worse. And that's why I get on here and point things out because I just want them to be better.
Jamie, he does that 16 hours a day and he sleeps 2 hours a day. I don't want to tell you what happens on those other hours.
I sleep about 3 to 4. 3.
You don't want to know, young lady. Hey, mate, thanks for jumping on. We know you're extremely busy. We look forward to seeing you and cheering you on when you get to Hong Kong next, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for not being too cruel.
We never are.
And the beauty of the World Pool, it gives an opportunity from everyone around the world to bet into these big pools. And if you're betting into them at Flemington and Lightning Stakes, you can bet in the win, the place, the Quinella place, which is known in Duet in some areas, and also the trifecta. And we look at the Group 1 Lightning Stakes, Hutch, and as a sprint race, This was the highest rating race the highest rating sprint race for the entire year last year. And it is an amazing race led by Nature Strip.
Yeah, world's best sprinter. And he's obviously his trial coming back was pretty good as well. And Rockin' Horse, she's always underrated. I thought that, she might be once again, but it's a good field. It's good to see Nature Strip back. And he's always going to attract a lot of attention, isn't he? And, no, it's always a good race, and it will be again this year.
So Nature Strip won the race 2 years ago, narrowly beaten last year by Home Affairs. He's an 8-year-old. Here, his last time he raced was down the straight at Flemington at the end of the carnival. Now, this was 1,200 metres, Shane. So 1,000 metres, I tend to treat it as a real specialist distance. Do you agree with me?
Yes, definitely. Look, the fact of the matter is Nature Strip, there's two of them. If he goes well, he'll win. But if he has an off day, he's going to get beat. And we've seen him have an off day. But he's the best sprinter. It's just a matter of whether he turns up. The horse I'm amazed about is a Rockin' Horse. It's a different horse in Australia, that horse, for some unknown reason to me. And it beats the best sprinters here, which New Zealand sprinters always haven't been able to do, or not many have. Some have, but not many. But, it's got to be a chance the way it goes up the straight. Clinton's had 2 goes up there and won.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's over the odds. But, Shane, it wouldn't be the only Kiwi that gets better when it comes to Australia.
Hey, I was always good before I left.
Who would have thought that was going to be the response?
Exactly. But it's a good race, isn't it? I think she's going to run well. I mean, she's better 1,200, but she'll give a good account. And the other one, Marabi's a really interesting. I mean, it just overthrew in a days off, which I'm not. Doesn't sort of fill one with confidence, but she's just a winning machine as well. And 1,000 is her go. So I think she'll run a big race.
And there's a horse in there who has got form, narrowly beaten by Giga Kick, form in and around the best 3-year-olds, who hasn't won a Group 1 and might not be able to keep up over 1,000. But if they sit up for a moment and allow him to tack on, Buenos Noches at around $13 can run a massive race, I think. 1,000 metres is the only concern, but draws wide, Craig Williams. And I think as a starting point, Shane, at 8 years of age, rising 9, we know Nature Strip's not getting any better. He needs to be racing at his top level. If he's gone back, say, 10%, it gives the others a chance.
Oh, definitely. There's no risk. And you do lose ability, as you know, Richo. I'm sure as you get older, I'm sure you're not as fast today as you were when you were winning that store gift.
Oh, boy.
He might be when he puts the Lycra on, Shane. You never know. He becomes quite aerodynamic.
Trust me, that is a lifetime away. Let's change topics quick. We find some winners. We're racing on Sunday at Sha Tin. We'll analyse a couple of the key races. And Hutch, only a small field, but let's have a look at race 3 first.
Yeah, interesting race with the rail in the A court position, which is rail true for those in other places wanting to know about what I'm saying when I mention the A course. But as Shane often says, when the rail's true in Hong Kong around this time of year, it can often, the rail's obviously not necessarily the best spot, and horses can run on. And this is certainly going to be a horse that does that. Key form reference involving the Golden Scenery. I think this looks a very good opportunity for him to be winning one. He's meeting a few of his rivals at better odds. Better in the weights. Healthy Happy will go 40s. Disappointing after this run, after being beaten by Lucky Swainess. But I think even though there wasn't much between them on that occasion, Shane, I think this looks a nice race for the Golden Scenery. Just at the weights, he hasn't got much on his back, and I think he'll get enough tempo in the race. A lot will depend on Beauty Joy in terms of that tempo. But it looks a nice race for the Golden Scenery to finally win one this season.
Yeah, I agree. Healthy Happy will lead. You would think from gate 7 he'll come across. Beluga's been going forward. I think Cordyceps 6 is going to go well here, Clint. Like his run the other day was good over a mile, and he ran it out and he was going from 1,200 to a mile. He's got the blinkers back on. He never had them on the other day, and he might just go. I think Golden Scenery and Cordyceps 6 in that race. I can see Cordyceps 6 running well.
The horse that the key runner in this race in many respects for me is Beauty Joy. What do we do with him? With Beauty Joy, he's been competing against all the big guns. Now he comes back. Yes, he has to carry weight. I'm not sure he's ever quite found that level of form that he did towards the end of last season where he was unbelievably impressive. But one key factor, and this is no knock on Hugh, but Zach has had 8 rides on this horse for 5 wins. He gets along with him pretty well. I like where he's drawn. It gives Zach some options if he jumps well, the horse, and he hasn't been stepping that brilliantly, but he could roll forward. And you mentioned, Shane, that Healthy Happy looks your leader, but if Beauty Joy jumps okay, Zach's not going to fight him, and he does get along well with this horse. He may settle prominently, and he's proven weight carrier in the past. So it's a very interesting runner here and a key runner in this race.
He's definitely got the ability to win, I know that. But he hasn't got that gate speed brilliance. It just takes him a furlong to get going, 100 metres to get going, and he's got the right gate, as you said, Clint. Gate 6 is perfect out there, so he doesn't have to bustle him. He can take his time, and Zach will know where he ends up is going to be perfect for him. You know, he might go back early and then go forward. How would you know? He's a funny horse. He's hard to predict, that horse.
Yeah, and I don't think the riders would really predict. It just depends how he steps on the day and what sort of mood he's in. Pardon me, but I do think he's got a very good chance. But just at the weights, I think the Golden Scenery is the one that I'll be happy to stick with. And Beauty Joy, I do respect, though. I'm not sure about Cordyceps 6.
I reckon it ran I'm with Shane. I thought it ran so bravely at a mile that 1,400 metres is Goldilocks. It's just right.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know if he's come back quite where I thought he would from last season either. So, yeah, I'm not convinced. I'll let you boys have him.
Okay. Race number 8, we'll have him, but hopefully have him at a nice price. Race number 8, let's have a look at the market and the field here. And you've marked 5G Patch short at around 260.
Yeah, I think he's got a great chance. This is a really underrated horse, I think, in Hong Kong at this point in time. And I can see him going a lot higher in the handicap. Of course, Hugh Bowman was on him to win when he won most recently, but Matt Chadwick gets on board and they probably wouldn't have known what weight they were going to get. So maybe Matt was booked earlier. But that said, Hugh does have a very good ride in Running Glory. He has to carry weight. But, of course, we've seen Champion Dragon beaten since on the back of this. But look at how far they drew well clear of the rest. He's got a great turn of foot. The key factor on the weekend for 5G Patch as well, Shane, he drops a lot in weight. He's up to this grade, but he's been lumping around, 60-plus kilos. Now he gets right down in the weights. It's a small field. He won't be standing them up a start. And I know he's only won, how many races he won in Hong Kong? 2 of 9.
2.
But he should have probably won another 2 or 3, really. And I think he's headed into triple figures because I think he's a very nice 2,000 metre horse.
Yeah, I've got him on top. I was big on him last start. And as I pointed out on the show, one in there that's very well in at the weights now and it's come back in ratings is Butterfield, I reckon. I know he's got 134 pounds, but he's not going that bad, Clint, that horse, and he gets his chance in this type of race with Zach on from gate 2, but I've definitely got 5G Patch on top. He's a horse going higher, and the 2,000 metres suits him, and there should be pace in the race with Enjoying Goes. The bottom one led 2 starts to go Dromberg Banner over a mile, so he'll go forward. Most of them get back, actually.
Yeah, Drombo Banner, I'm not convinced stays, to be honest. I know it was a bit of a surprise winner, but I thought it was a little bit plain last time out. And Enjoying, I just haven't been overly inspired with the form this term. The top 3, Running Glory, Butterfield, Rise Breath, and I just don't think there's much between them as I sort of had that priced in the market. And I just feel at the weights, 5G Patch will get the right run.
260 is the price you've rated it at. Your gut feel, and could we get to that price or it might be shorter?
Well, I think we will because what Shane mentioned about Butterfield with Zach on, he's also got an okay record. He's won 1 of 7, but he usually gets on Butterfield when Butterfield is ready to win, and that is certainly the case, as Shane said. This horse has been running well in some decent races, and now Zach gets aboard. Hugh Bowman teaming up with John Size. They'll obviously also get a fair bit of support in the market, particularly with Running Glory, who's 1-for-1 over the trip as well. And if you like them, well, Rise Brethren's probably that third elect. But yeah, I think you will get around about that quote. I'm certainly hoping so.
The worry I've got with Running Glory is he's only about, if I remember correctly, 960 pounds, 970. He's a very small horse. And he's got 135 pounds in this race. Now, he's got the ability to win, and he's going well enough, but the weight might stop him. And last start, if you remember, Clint, in that race, I think he had 115 or 16 pounds, so he had no weight. But he's racing well. Wouldn't be a surprise if he won, and he can win, but the weight's a little bit of a worry for me in that race.
Yeah, it's a fair call, and I did think long and hard about it. His last win, he did carry 129, so about 2.5, 3 kilos less. He's all heart, but it will anchor him a fair bit. But I do like him over 2,000 metres, and I do like Hugh Bowman riding him, and I think he'll ride him well. I mean, he's a bit one-dimensional. He doesn't have a lot of early speed, but I still think he has to be considered strong. He's very, very tenacious and very consistent.
And then we go from 2,000 metres back to 1,200 metres for race number 9 as we have a look at the field here, and Zach Purton's on Magniac. So it looks a little like Maniac, but it's Magniac. Horse number 8 here. How do you assess them?
This is a really good race. This will prove to be a pretty good form reference, I would think, as well. And there's a horse called Wings of War, is actually a very interesting runner owned by Mary Slack, and one of those runners that is overseas owned and now racing in Hong Kong. So it'll be interesting to see who's got stakes form from obviously Europe. But no, I like Youthful Deal. I like the Beauty Eternal form. This race rated really well on my figures. And Youthful Deal gets a very similar run, and Magniac's in the race as well, who will improve second up, but it's drawn awkwardly. But Shane, I really like the run from Youthful Deal. I thought, as I said, he settled 3 back the fence there. He got a touch held up, but it's the right form reference for mine. And I probably would have, sided with Magniac had he drawn better, but unfortunately he's drawn 12, and I think he has to do a little bit of work one way or the other from that wider alley, notwithstanding he was a very good run on that occasion.
Yeah, well, he beat him home last start, didn't he, with a worse run, Youthful Deal. So you'd think he'd be beating him home tomorrow on Sunday here. I got Youthful Deal on top. Supreme Lucky's a nice horse. He's won his last 2 in Class 4. He's going to run a race. I don't know whether he's going to beat the other horse from the gate, but then again, I've got to disregard gates because A-track, I keep saying, 3 deep. Watch Ryan Moore ride International Day or any day when the track's on the A-track. He stays off the fence. He stays 3-4 wide and doesn't care and rides winners. It's just better. I'm not saying it's going to be this weekend on Sunday, but 19 out of 20 meetings, 3 deep is the best posse to be. So that's going to suit Supreme Lucky. But you're going to know by then anyway, Clint. But I've got Youthful Deal on top from probably Supreme Lucky and the what do you call it?
Magniac. One named after you, Maniac.
I think with Supreme Lucky, and I agree with what you're saying, Shane, in terms of where he'll be in the 3-wide line, but I think he's a horse that needs cover because he might over-race, and it was a very good win from him last start because he was handy in a pretty fast race, and he faced the breeze from about the 600, and he was a bit keen. So there's a lot of substance to that. He drops in weight, but I'd love to see that. I think they'll go forward with him again. And I'm worried that he'll be facing the breeze and overdo it a little bit. If he does get that 3-wide run with a little bit of cover, he can win. I completely agree.
Can I just ask you quickly, Hong Kong Racing School style here, Wings of War, you said is owned internationally?
Yes.
You can race here? I thought they all had to be registered Hong Kong owners.
This is a recent thing that's happened this season where they've opened up some ownership to bigger names, I suppose, around the world. And we're going to see more of it. And hopefully it'll also improve the quality of the horses coming in to Hong Kong and race. So, yeah, it's a different initiative, and this is one of those horses that fits that bill.
So to take, bigger names, we don't qualify, but if the triple...
I think Yulong have had a run.
Are they?
Yes.
So could the triple trio, could we put together a horse and send it over to Casper to race, or do we need to have...
No, you need to be more well-established, something like the Godolphin Blue. You need to join the Blue Army, I think, Richo.
Clint, please stop underestimating him. There's no one bigger than Richo. He's on every TV. He's a personality. He's a superstar. They would only be too glad to have him over there.
Mate, Hong Kong Jockey Club. Listen to what Shane just said.
As they say, small fry. Yeah, small fry.
Race number 10 is our lucky last 1,600 metres. Here's the field.
Good race to complete the day, and there's a few there that are just on their mark. Look, I'm thinking this is a nice opportunity for Luke Curry. We made Beauty Inspire one to follow out of the meeting where James McDonald rode him, of course. That was at the Classic Mile meeting, and this was a horse that came into Hong Kong with 2-year-old form from Europe or Ireland and looked a bit of a boom horse. So I wasn't convinced, but he ran well. And look, it's a handy race. It just depends how much he's probably come on for that. But you say often, Shane, regarding this, that a lot of John Sizer's horse improvers, we take a look at a replay of Capital Legend and Sinba, and I don't think they'll be too far off them. It's a competitive race. I think of the two, probably with the run they'll get, Capital Legend might be a better chance, although Prince Alex ran well there as well. But I was more concentrating around Beauty Inspire, Shane, just so that natural improvement, second up, going from 14 to 1,600 metres. He's drawn nice. I don't think he'll need to be too far back, although I don't think Luke will want to, sort of ride him too differently to how he was ridden on debut, but he looks a really, really interesting runner.
Clint, he's going to be very hard to beat, that horse. His first up run was better than I thought it would be. His trials were just okay before his first run. He went extraordinarily well. But not only that, he raced 21 days ago. He's had a trial since then, and his trial was so much better than before he had his first run. He's a nice horse, and from gate 6, he's going to get a good run, and I can see him winning. On what I've seen, he's better than them.
I just got a sense of a lot of confidence there from Shane. That sounds like Shane's confident.
Can I ask you with a quick question, a horse who'll be probably triple figures? David Hayes did mention to us about Satirical Glory, who gets way down into the bottom of the weights down here. Horse number 14 in the last. Remember he made a little mention about that.
That was on the dirt. Maybe that didn't suit. And then they went to Happy Valley. Maybe that didn't suit. They rode him handy.
Listen, look at him politely trying to tell me to shut up.
I'm not in this particular race, but I think Sha Tin's more of his go, and maybe I think probably further than 1,600 as well. But he could run well. Put it this way, I know you like a quaddie or a treble, etc. Richo,
Pop him in.
Pop him in.
Pop him in. Pop him in. Something small at a massive price. All right, well, let's have a look at our very best for the weekend and try to steer all of our viewers into a winner.
My main bet will be, one of my best bets will be at this point in time, 5G Patch. I've marked a clear favourite there, and I think it's a good race to have a Quinella with Running Glory and Butterfield. So that will be race 8, 6 to win, and a Quinella with numbers 1 and 2. Outside of that, a race that we haven't covered a little bit earlier, I thought that there was a very good chance of the horse that had made our Sid file, and that is in Flying Mojito, is in around about the middle of the card. That was race 5. Number 6, he lines up against Ching, who beat him the other day, was a bit unlucky. And I think they'll nearly run 1-2 again. So race 5, number 6, Flying Mojito. And I'll definitely also be having something on Golden Scenery. I think he's a nice little chance in that race. It's a bit trickier to mark that particular race with Beauty Joy and a few others there that are capable. But I think that certainly the Golden Scenery looks a good chance.
Okay, so 5G Patch, Flying Mojito and Golden Scenery. Shane, can you add another one in?
I'll go race 7, number 7, Carroll Street. Now, he hasn't run for about 10 months or 9 months. He's had 3 trials in China, and he's ran time every time, Richo, and he's looked good. Now, he's won first up before up the straight, and he goes well, and he hasn't got a lot of weight. I think he's got 122 pounds. He's got the outside gate, which is perfect, but he hasn't raced for 9 or 10 months. I haven't got his body weight yet, so I want to see his body weight and how much difference that is from his winning weight, but he'll run well for sure.
And he's running up against a horse named after you, Shane, horse number 1 in that race.
I'm a single man.
I don't think he's single too often.
Well, he's officially single.
Chance in it, actually. I remember this, what they called you, that horse there, after you won the stall gift. You gifted, didn't they, Richo? Number 2.
Whizkid?
Whizkid?
Whizkid? I thought it was more number 9, Metro Warrior. And just doing my best.
number 3 on a day going to the races?
Oh, hang on. Gee, I love playing this game.
I don't.
Or you?
I'm usually the butt end of
winning
the jokes.
dreamer.
Winning dreamer, yeah. Dreamer's about right too.
Hey, RS, as always, mate, absolute pleasure. Great to chat to Jamie Kah. You were very, very kind to her, but I think she's earned it. She's a great talent.
I just wish Australia would get their heads together and promote these superstars better than what they're doing. You know, you can't promote someone like Chris Waller. There's nothing there. He is who he is. But you can promote a James McDonald, you can promote a Jamie Kah to be superstars where everyone knows them and they're in the papers all the time and they're promoting racing. But they just don't get their heads around it.
A great point. Wonderful addition to the show today, Jamie Kah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Shane knows all about promotion because he was a very good promoter of himself. I will say that. But I agree wholeheartedly with what he said. I mean, we do have to embrace the stars of the sport. Yes, there's the equine side of it, which almost sells itself really when you get those champions, but we're probably not we aren't doing a good enough job with these jockeys who are unbelievable athletes. And what he says, I could not agree more upon.
You know what I found funny in that conversation, Richo, with Jamie, was when she said, over there, I was like a star, a real celebrity. And I'm thinking, but I was there and I was in Australia and I was as big in Australia as I was in Hong Kong. But obviously she has never felt that here before in Australia, which tells me they haven't marketed her and she doesn't know how to get out there and promote herself to be where she walks down the street and she's signing autographs or having photos with people knowing her in the public.
Yeah. They're too busy probably in Australia, jockeys, riding most days. I mean, Shane, I know you just said I'm only riding a couple of days a week. You were doing your form and other things, but they have got very busy schedules these days, and that's another probably issue for them.
But maybe Shane actually touches on an interesting point, and it's actually the culture of Australia where
it is.
We tend to try to drag down those that are big stars and try to find a fault in them, whereas in Hong Kong, they're just going to celebrate it for how good she is. And to a slight degree, she's a novelty because we haven't had many dominant female riders in Hong Kong.
Can I sum this up in one sentence? And this is and I don't want people to say anything, but in Hong Kong, you go for dinner and they say owners over there, oh, jockey, you don't get paid enough. Very dangerous, very dangerous. You should get more money. In Australia, you go for dinner, they say, oh, you're well paid. What else would you do if you weren't a jockey? That's the mentality and the difference between the two cultures.
Yeah, it's fascinating insight. I think there's a bit of that. There's a bit of every one of the points that we've brought there. And but as a sport, we need to get it better. Hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to your company next week on the Triple Trio.